Linux, first and foremost, is a collection of operating systems. The generic term Linux describes any number of thousands of variations of Linux operating systems that all fit under the umbrella. While you may not have ever used Linux, you've certainly encountered it, probably on a daily basis, without knowing so. Much of the World Wide Web, banking systems, applications you're used to using, as well as point-of-sale systems at the places you shop or eat, are all powered by Linux. Even in your own home, smart televisions and smart systems that are integrated into your daily life can have their foundation or even back-end systems such as cloud services that run within Linux infrastructures. But why would you want to learn about Linux? I think there's many good reasons, but we find a few specific categories of individuals who need to explore Linux in a more robust sense. If you're someone familiar with Windows workloads and are now needing to diversify your knowledge because the environments you administrate include Linux operating system-based servers and systems, well, now you'll need to begin exploring this new world of operating systems. Additionally, if you're doing application development, you need to consider the environments that your workloads can run on. It's quite common to host applications and back-end server systems on Linux environments, and it'll be useful for you to be able to explore your options when it comes time to stand up that infrastructure. When you work in the cloud, much of the cloud runs atop systems that are all running Linux to make the harmonious and available elastic clouds we've come to appreciate serve our daily needs. And when you come to the more modern mobile applications and Internet of Things implementations we see in our daily lives, Linux is almost certain to be under the hood. But what makes Linux great? Linux is great for a few reasons, and if you talk with anyone who's converted or administrates hybrid environments that include Linux, they'll be able to typically line out what is different for them in Linux systems and why they even prefer them. The first thing that makes Linux great is that Linux is open source. When we use the term open source, we mean that the entire code base that builds the operating system is available to one and all to explore, enhance, and alter to their liking. This means that there's an entire community of system administrators, developers, and users who co-contribute to build the great Linux distributions we have at our fingertips. This contrasts from the proprietary or closed source environments we know from companies like Microsoft who give us Windows. Microsoft Windows is an operating system that only Microsoft has access to the codebase that builds and operates Windows. You're reliant on a specific entity to deliver new features as well as bug fixes on a timely fashion. There was a day and age where that was a primary choice, if not an only choice. But in the world of open source technologies, especially as it pertains to the operating systems of Linux, you now have thousands upon thousands of users who share their knowledge and help enhance the Linux environments that we use today. Linux also includes an easy-to-use command line interface. This means that at your fingertips, you have the ability to script and alter the environment and its behaviors with very simple, easy to learn and understand commands that you'll grow in your repertoire as you learn more and more Linux. Also, Linux is a modular operating system, meaning that you can replace or remove components that are not to your liking. If you need to add software, there's entire libraries of software packages that you can install. Would you like to alter its behavior on how it performs or operates? You can dive into the code base for each individual application and alter all of the above. With open source, the entire behavior of the environment is at your fingertips and backed up by an entire community of contributors to the code base that help to enhance the Linux and Linux environments. Linux isn't the only thing in the world that's open source. There's entire catalogs of open source software in the world. Software that allows the community to view and alter and enhance the code base adopts the philosophy of open source software. When we all work together to create great applications and operating systems and environments, we're guaranteed to have something more robust and more reliable over time than a proprietary option that may exist. When open source software is created, it is licensed under a collection of open source licenses. There's many that may exist in the world, but the general philosophy under open source licenses is that you can use at your discretion, and if you contribute, you must contribute freely to allow others to use at their discretion as well. There's an onus to always give credit to those who've contributed, but to allow others to freely use the software we build together. And that adds an exclamation point. I did use the word free to use. And in most cases, open source software is absolutely given and shared at no cost to an end user. This is very powerful in an enterprise environment when you consider so many budgets and bottom lines rotate around software or technology expenditures. Knowing that you can rely on libraries upon libraries of open source software to fuel your business means that you can spend less on technology and software implementations and more on your bottom line to deliver your product, software, and experiences to your customer. 4 main benefits come out of adopting open source philosophies and technologies. First is you'll have the control of your code base and the software you run within your environments, fully adaptable to meet your needs. Second, with a community behind you, you can access training from all the best and brightest minds who've built, used, and continue to enhance the software you've adopted. Third is the security implementations of having one and all help ensure that you have enhanced, robust security across all surfaces of your software stack. And lastly, stability. Stability is always a key factor to the community to ensure that when software is delivered, it runs stably, and runs reliably. This is what allows you to trust an open source piece of software powered by its open source community to run within your home, business, or enterprise applications.